Perfect. Okay, I call this meeting into order at 5:31 p.m. I recognize that Amina, Aya, Devin, Fiona, Imani, Mahira, Naila Benet, and Rahman are all present. Yeah, and we have no ex officio members at this moment, so thank you, Rahman. And this is the agenda. It's a little bit short, but are there any motions on the floor to maybe approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any objections? Hearing or seeing no objections, we can move to approve the agenda for tonight.
And I had a question. I don't know if I had to disapprove the agenda, but there was another Shasta request. Was that one of them in the agenda or not?
Okay, so the Sahas, we're only reviewing two Sahas requests tonight. There are more in SurveyMonkey, but we will get to those in next week's meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, perfect. And then moving on to the meeting minutes. I'm just gonna scroll through it real quick, and if you want me to stop, just let me know. But otherwise, I'm just gonna keep on scrolling. Okay. Are there any motions to approve the meeting minutes from last meeting?
A motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Seconds? Sorry, did anyone second? I don't know why. I can't hear.
I second.
Okay. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing no objections, we've approved the meeting minutes for September 21st, 2021. Moving on to new business. Our first thing on our plate tonight is confirming Hir Patel as election board member. So I'm just going to open up the legislation real quick and read through it, and then we can go through our normal confirmation process. Sorry. Okay, so this is JL 07-2122. The author is Marshad Devin, sponsors Wendy Zhang, as well as me, and the date of introduction was yesterday, 9/27/2021. This is the confirmation of Hir Patel as election board member. Whereas the nominating committee has the responsibility to nominate an election board member who must be confirmed with the passage of joint legislation. Sorry. Whereas the nominating committee fully vetted the candidate with 6 yes votes, 0 no votes, 0 abstain votes, and 0 absent votes. And whereas the appointment of an election board member must be confirmed by the Senate and the Finance Board by a 2/3 majority vote of both legislative bodies as stipulated in the SGA bylaws. Therefore, be it resolved that the Senate and Finance Board confirms Hir Patel to the position of election board member during the 2020. Okay, I found a mistake. So the years are unfortunately wrong, so we need to amend it and we need to send it back to Senate. So are there any amendments on the floor at this moment?
I move to amend 2021 to 21 to 22.
Are there any seconds?
Second.
Okay, any objections? Hearing or seeing no objections. Sorry. I can amend this doc to say 2021, or this piece of legislation to say 2021 to 2022, and we can vote for it as is at this point and send it back to Senate for a revote. Okay, continuing on to the position of election board member during the 2021 to 2022 academic year, receiving an annual stipend of $619.20. Okay. Here, if you're comfortable turning on your camera, you can do that, but could you just give us a quick introduction of yourself? So this includes like name, pronouns, major, and why you want to be an election board member.
Can you guys see me and hear me?
I can see and hear you, yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm on my phone, so it's kind of weird for the WebEx. But hi, my name is Hir. I'm a senior biochemistry major. And is there anything else you mentioned? Sorry.
Oh, just
You cut
why
out.
you're interested in being election board
Yeah,
member?
so I was on the election board last semester, and it was a really good experience for me. And I really enjoyed the process of watching over the elections and keeping everything in check. And I would definitely want to do that again. And since we're back in person now, I would love to experience that in person as well.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any motions to move into a period of questioning?
To move into a period of questioning.
Second.
Any objections? Hearing or seeing no objections, we can move into a period of questioning. So if you have a question, please say "I" in the chat, and I can call on you, or me in the chat. That also works. Go ahead, Rahman.
Hello here. So I actually had the pleasure of nominating here for this position. But here, can you speak a little bit about why you wanted to be on the board again? You kind of mentioned having that in-person experience, but can you talk a little bit more about your experiences online last year, like how that affected you and like how the election process kind of went, so we can all get a better idea of your role on the board?
Yeah, definitely. So last semester was my first time. A previous election board member had nominated me, so I got the chance to be on it last semester. It was completely online, so all the events were online. So we would help organize the events like bingo, and then we did a Q&A with the Senate and the Finance Board, and we also did categories and events like that to attract people and inform them about the elections. And the main reason I joined last semester was prior to that, I was unaware of any of the voting dates and times, or like who is running in the Senate or who's running for finance board. So I wanted to get more involved in the direct process of spreading the word about the election and just keeping in touch with on campus SGA and just help people spread awareness about the election, why it's important to vote, and all of that.
Go ahead, Usman.
Hi here. So my question was that, like, what are you planning on doing differently this year as a member of the election board?
Yes, so last time, since it was online, we were not able to do much in person or anything at all in person. So this year, I plan on helping host events that are in person, actually, so we can get the um, interested people or whoever wants to learn about the elections come in person and interact with us. I feel like it would be better to do events in person just so we can get an idea of like it would be more realistic in my opinion compared to online. And just in-person interactions are more favorable, in my opinion, because you can spread the word around using flyers and all of that. Because I know some people don't have social media, which is what we used online. We were still able to get the word around pretty fairly. But since it's in person, we would be able to post flyers and all of that around campus. So if you're ever just walking by, you see a flyer. In my opinion, that's like something I want to do this semester.
Great, thank you. Are there any more questions from finance board members? If not, are there any motions to move into a period of discussion?
I move to enter.
Motion to move into period of discussion.
Second.
Any objections? Hearing or seeing no objections, we can move into a period of discussion. Do you have anything to add? Just say me in the chat and we can call on you. Well, I guess I can start off, but just from hearing Here's experience in the past as well as what she wants to improve on in the future. I feel like she's a great candidate for this position, and also nominating committee has also voiced their approval of her nomination. So I feel like she's a very strong candidate to confirm. Go ahead, Rahman.
I second everything Shruti just said. Sorry, I just choked on my bagel. But so Lai actually nominated well, I nominated here, but Lai really pushed for here also, and Lai is like the chair of election board. And I truly value her recommendation also. So that's something that I really wanted to point out. But uh echoing everything that Shruti just said.
Perfect. If no one else wants to add to the discussion, then we can also move into a period of voting. So are there any motions on the floor for that?
I motion to move into a period of voting.
Also, Usman, it's I moved to.
Oh, I moved to. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. Are there any seconds?
Second.
Any objections? Hearing or seeing no objections, we can move into our period of voting. If we think that here is, or if we're for here being confirmed as an election board member, say aye in the chat. If not, then nay, and I can tally up the votes. Okay, I think that is all 8 of us. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's all 8 of us. So we have 8 for, 0 opposed. I'm abstaining, and 0 not present. And today is 9/28/21. Okay. Okay. So yes, it has passed Finance Board, but I think it has to go back to Senate for their next meeting, so I don't think we would swear here in, but congratulations on getting appointed, at least from the Finance Board side.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next agenda item. So we have the Sahas request for the Black Professional Networking event sponsored by or organized by Black Men Society. So I'm going to pull up their Sahas request real quick for that. I saw that most of us have commented on it. So we can just spend a little bit kind of going over what we think about the application and the details of it over funding it. But before we do that, do we want to enter a period of discussion? Or are there any motions to enter?
I motion to move to a period of discussion. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I moved to.
I move to enter a period of questioning or
Or
discussion.
discussion. Yes.
Second that.
Okay, perfect. Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing no objections, we can move into sorry, a period of discussion about the Sahas request. So if you have anything to add, please just say me in the chat and we can discuss it. Go ahead, Isman.
I think that like it was a pretty straightforward application about they kind of put a well detailed plan about what they want to do, especially like this is like an event that is going to educate a lot of people. So I think it was a really good application and we should all vote for it.
Perfect. Anyone else? Go ahead, Devin.
Yeah, I also think it's a good application. Just from like what they put in the application, it was fairly detailed, and I was able to kind of make my decision just from what they were giving on the application, which is always a good sign. I think I had I'm gonna pull up my Survey Monkey. I think I had a concern, but I can't remember on the top of my head.
I can also pull it up if you want.
Oh, okay. I don't think I did. I might be thinking of another one.
Yeah.
Oh, then never mind. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I think this was the one that was fairly straight to the point, and I was able to make a quick decision.
All right, perfect.
I think the only problem I had was they didn't say when the event was, just to make sure they were under the $1,000 budget, or did I just like look over? Oh, there it goes. I look in the
Yeah.
right section. Oh yeah, so it's fine. In my notes, I said it looks good. So I think yeah, they have a like a pretty straightforward application, and they're following all the guidelines. So it should be okay. It should be okay.
Yeah, and adding on to what everyone said so far, just going through like all the budgetary statutes we have, this event should be fully fundable based off of sorry, all the information that we have and the amount being under $1,000 for a 30-day rule that we have. If we are in general agreement about this, we can move into a period of voting.
I move to enter into a period of voting.
I second that.
Any objections? Hearing seeing no objections, we can move into a period of voting for the Sahas application. Quick question, Candace. Is this where you would send the voting
Yeah,
thing?
do you have the legislation or no?
Yes, I do.
Okay, if you don't, you can just yeah. Let me move it and then you can do the.
Okay, I'm just gonna
What's the number again?
225.
My computer's taking forever. Sorry.
That's totally fine. We can go through with the voting and then I can update that afterwards. So if we are in support of fully funding this Sahas request for $794.50 for BMS's event, then please say aye in the chat. If not, say nay and we can tally up results. I think we're still waiting on one person. Perfect. Okay. So we have 8-4. Oh my God. 0 opposed. I'm abstaining and 0 not present, and it's been passed on 09, 28, 21. Sign that real quick. Perfect. Okay. I can update the voting record on the SurveyMonkey, but other than that, congratulations. Yay, we did it. Okay.
Can I be recognized?
Sorry?
Can I say something?
Yes, please go.
Okay, so don't forget, this is a point of, I'm sorry, it's really loud over here. Point of order, that someone has to notify the student organization of their funding, as well as has to notify ECS, SABSC, because ECS needs to know that they've been funded to be able to move forward. So whatever email you send to or gets sent to Black Men's Society needs to be sent to ECS and SABSC as well.
Okay, got it. Cool. Okay, moving on to our next Sahas request of tonight. Pull up the application. It should be this one. Okay. So going through it, I obviously have some thoughts that you guys can see here, but do we want to move into a period of discussion before we get into those?
I move to enter a period.
A second.
By the way, hi, I'm here from Model UN representing it as their vice president.
Perfect. Welcome. So are there any objections? You're seeing no objections, so we can move into a period of discussion. Okay, so starting off, you guys can obviously see my thoughts. It's right here, but I just want to cover a few things that or actually, who wants to start? Before we go into my thoughts, who wants to start and give their thoughts? Just say me in the chat, I'm calling you. Okay, Rahman, go for it.
Okay, so my first concern was, can we actually review this application? Because it's like, I think like with the money that they're requesting, it's around 45,000, I think. I'm not sure. 48,000.
It's
No, no, no.
$29.40, $2,940.
Oh, really?
Wait, sorry. The number that we have is 4890.
Yeah, I was confused.
So
Yeah, so but we according to our documents, it says that you guys can only fund 2,000 of the total, like so the 2940 that we're asking for from you. So the total 4890 is what the actual thing costs, and we were probably going to get that from students, but the 2940 is what we're asking from finance board.
2940. Okay, wait. How are you getting that number, like 2940?
We have an invoice that I can send to you if you need that.
That would be nice. Just because I'm not seeing how you're telling of that number, so it'd be nice to.
We revised it down basically after we had lower than expected registration numbers.
Okay. Could you send me the invoice that you're talking about, please? If you could just email it to me, I can pull it up real quick.
Okay, just sent the email to you, so it should be in your inbox.
Perfect. Okay, there. Okay. So based off of this, so from my understanding, this includes 11 students, for a total, so it's $95 each for each of these students. This cost also includes the registration fee, the cost of one faculty advisor, as well as lodging. So going back into concerns, for this, I think I'll just like leave this up here, but I feel like if anyone needs to see the application itself, you can just go see it yourself. But starting off just with concerns about it, Rahman, do you want to continue with what you were saying, or I can also go?
You can go, but I'm looking at it right now just in case.
Okay, perfect. So I have two major concerns right now. So first, we are, as finance board, we're not allowed to fund anyone who's not a current UMBC undergraduate students. So at this point, that also includes the faculty advisor. So we would not be able to fund the $95 for the faculty advisor, and that's just part of the budgetary statutes. And also in terms of right here, like the rooms and the cost for the rooms, we are not able to fund any lodging because we looked at this because the event, like the place it's being held, is within 50 miles, which is kind of the benchmark that the budgetary statutes lay out of how far away an event has to be for lodging to be accommodated in the finance forward funding. So
Is
those
that
are
specifically for this year, or is that for like previous years? Because in previous years, we've had finance board fund every hotel room for this conference.
So technically that those are our rules. Those are the rules that we have to abide by. Previous boards can kind of go against it. It's kind of up to their own discretion on whether or not they want to follow it. But we as finance board, these are the rules that we have to abide by, but we also can as finance board discuss and see if we want to overrule these rules that we have. So those are just the rules that I'm laying out to everyone. So this is the discussion that we need to have. Go ahead, Rahman.
Also, Ekta, you mentioned it was funded in past years. Was the conference held, or like, did you guys stay at the same hotel past years, or this is like a one-time thing?
Yes, we've stayed at the same hotel in past years, and we have the N1, our National Model UN Washington, D.C. conference every year during the fall semester.
And this was definitely funded in the past. Okay.
Yes.
Candace, can we get some insight about this? Because I'm actually really confused.
Yeah, I can look up last year's, or really the year before's.
Yeah, the last time
Well,
it was during fall 2019, I believe.
Fall 2019. I can look.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. While we get more insight on that, I can also like discuss like based off of this, the amount that if we continue without funding the hotels and the faculty cost that is laid out in this description, the amount that we would be able to fund as finance board according to all the budgetary statutes right now would be $1,045. So that is something for finance board to consider, and if anyone else has anything to add on that note, then now would be the time. You could just say me in the chat and I can call on you. Go ahead, Candace.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can I share my screen? Again, I am so sorry.
We couldn't hear anything you said past, can you hear me? So if you said anything before that, then we didn't hear that.
Can I share my screen? Is that okay?
Yes, I can unshare my screen, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, yeah, so I'm actually going to turn my Bluetooth off, even though it's probably going to be really loud. Maybe. Yes, no?
Yes. Is it a little better?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great.
better.
So,
Okay,
so this is for the National Model United Nations, DC. This is the same conference, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll see you requested in 2019, in the fall, you requested $3,800 for lodging. You were approved for $0 in fall 2019, but you were approved for registration costs. So in 2019, the finance board was consistent with their budgetary statutes and did not approve lodging for this conference.
We also had something for spring 2020. Yeah, that was before COVID happened. So we ended up not actually going to that conference, but it was the National Model UN Conference in New York City, and that one was fully funded.
Yep, sure.
Yes.
And that was fully funded. The lodging was fully funded for that because it's more than 50 miles away from UMBC.
Got it. Okay.
So if something is under 50 miles away, the expectation is that you can commute from UMBC to that place.
Okay.
And that's just, finance board trying to be responsible stewards of the student dollar.
If possible, once you guys are all done kind of with your concerns, I'd like to address some points about our request for this semester, but you guys can all finish your concerns first before we do that.
Perfect. Okay. I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen. Sorry. Also, do we know if the meeting is still being live streamed? Can someone check on that for me, please? I just genuinely do not know how this works. But okay. Thank you.
It's still live.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Oh, I see that. Okay. So the other concern that that I've had is that sorry, right up here. Let's see if I can find it. So because this is a in-person event, a part of going to an in-person event during this fall semester that the university has laid out is that we need to seek approval, or you need to seek approval from VPSA. So that's the Vice President of Student Affairs, which is Dr. Young, and she basically would have to go through your plan and make sure that it makes sense for it to be funded or for it to actually happen before we can actually fund it. So that's something that you would need to seek approval for, and this includes submitting like a COVID mitigation plan. So that's something that you guys also have to work on before we can technically give you the money for it. We can like fund it per se if it gets approved, but at this moment you can't exactly have the money until it's been approved. Okay, perfect. I don't know if you saw what Candace said in the chat, but that's probably what we would end up doing. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay. Does the rest of Finance Board have anything else to add before we, I guess, go more into discussion?
Okay, so I said be in the chat. So this is kind of leading into discussion, but I know it's like not 50 miles, but how many miles is the hotel like away from here, like approximately? Does it say or no? Or let me check actually.
I'm sorry. I actually already checked. The hotel's actually 38.9 miles away from campus. So if they found like a hotel that's like a little bit farther, maybe then
Yeah.
it could like work.
Because the conference is 2 days, right? Like how many like it's not just
It's
like a
2
1 day.
days, and the thing is the conference actually is happening at that hotel. So all the people who are attending that conference will be staying at that hotel as well while attending it. And yeah, I do have a few more points regarding that, but as I said before, I just want to make sure you all finish your discussion before I continue.
Okay, if none of us have anything to add, I would be okay with asking if that to just speak about any questions. Okay, go ahead, Amira.
So I was just gonna say, technically, even though like it's not part of our bylaws, we could still fund it, right? Like the lodging, like if we all had come to an agreement.
Yes, so technically I mean, not technically, we could go against the budgetary statutes that exist, but the only thing is if we do that, then we have to kind of remember that we're making an exception this time, and if we get more requests in the future, we would have to abide by these deviations from the budgetary statutes that exist. So, like Candace said, I mean, I personally, how much ever I can weigh in, I would say that we should probably stick to the budgetary statutes because they are like a pretty solid document for us to like be consistent with and not be wishy-washy.
Gotcha.
Also, it's in the best interest of the student dollar, exactly. Okay, does anyone have anything else to add before I give it over to Ekta? Go ahead, Neil, Benay.
Me? Like, can everyone hear me or no? I can't tell.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Um, so like on the map, my phone cut out a bit when you were pulling up the map, but I remember in the meeting when we looked this up, it was like 47 miles. So is it like depending on where you leave from campus that makes it like over 50? Because like I feel like when we looked it up before, it was
It's
under
actually
50, so that's why we said we couldn't fund transportation.
it's 39 actually. It depends on like the route you take. Like if you take like the longest route that Google Maps shows you, it gets like closer to 50, but you would assume that one would not want to do that. So in that assumption, it's
Oh
39
yeah.
miles.
I was wondering because like I cut out, I only saw the last, so I was wondering why it jumped to 57. That's like why I was asking.
Oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, I think it's 39. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. Oops.
Thank you.
No,
Sorry if that was like weird the way I asked.
no, that's totally fine. It's good to make sure that we all are on the same page. Okay. Okay, Imani, go ahead.
I just had a quick question. Where are you getting the 2095 from? Is that from how much we can accommodate each student that's going? Is that how you got the number?
So this 2095 number is something that I came up with earlier today, based off of just their original submit, like what they originally submitted. So I believe they're only sending 11 people for the UMBC delegation, but right now, like in the application, it said 20. So based off of that, I was just kind of like guesstimating what number it would be. So I was just like using the numbers minus the faculty fee, basically. So 2190 minus 95 is 2095. That's basically where I got the number.
Okay,
But
so
their number is a little lower. Like it's I think I said it was 1,035. I think that's what Candace told me, but 1,045, sorry. So that number is from the fact that they're sending less students than they initially expected.
even if we can't like, well, it looks like we can't fund along, we can still fund their fee to like actually go to the event.
Right. So we can still fund, I mean, technically, we can still fund all 11 students that they're planning on sending for the $95 per student fee, as well as the $195 registration fee. But that's about it, technically, according to the budgetary statutes, that's what we can fund right now.
Okay, that's just want
Of
like
course.
some clarification. All right.
No, it's good. I'm glad we're having this conversation. We're like ironing everything out. No, but I go for it.
Say like before it finishes that I agree with Candace, like we should do whatever the budgetary statutes outlines us to be able to do. So I'm personally, I think we should just fund the registration fee and like the fee for like the students and stuff, and then keep it at that, because if we try and get like too technical and like try and do this and that, like that's kind of not following the budgetary policy. And I don't think like we should try and keep that up. Like I think we should just do whatever we're allowed to do and try and keep it as simple as possible.
Okay, Rahman, go ahead.
Okay, so okay, I'm always usually for precedence, but I disagree with this one. The only thing is the conference itself is at that hotel. For example, in the past, the conference that was held in New York was more than 50 miles, so it was fully funded. But this conference itself, it's not just UMBC, it's like every other university or college that's participating. They're all staying at that hotel. That's like it's not required for them to stay, but it's a 2-day conference and they kind of have to stay to participate. But I think we should fund it, but I want Candace's perspective. I know it's against our budgetary guidelines, but I think this is something that deserves an exception.
Okay, Usman, go ahead.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Rahman. Like, I don't want to go against the budgetary status, but at the same time, knowing how important Model UN is, I believe that we should fund it. And knowing that the hotel and the place are really close, I mean, like, knowing that like the event is happening where the hotel is, I think it's like just the benefit of a doubt. I mean, we don't want to do something that's against the laws, but I mean, for the sake of UMBC students and everyone that is participating in this event, I believe that we should just fund it.
And Candace, go ahead.
I think you not funding their hotel does not necessarily mean that they cannot stay at a hotel. At the hotel, they are more than welcome to stay at that hotel. But your budgetary statutes say to not fund within 50 miles for a reason. And if you did approve this, other groups could also ask for the same kind of exception, which would open you up to more funding requests. I'm sorry you're hearing Miley Cyrus. But I mean, the 50 miles is there to try and stretch the student dollar as far as possible, right? To make reasonable expectations around travel. So that's sort of why that you have to draw a line somewhere, and that's where the line is drawn.
Okay, thanks for your insight, everyone. Just to answer a few of the questions, Nail Vinay, that's something that we, once we get Ekta to speak, that's something that I'm pretty sure that she would be able to cover. And also, I would assume that the cost would go to the students, Usman, but if we have nothing else to add at this moment, I would urge us to listen to what Ekta has to say. Okay, go ahead, Ekta.
All right, thank you. So, thank you for everyone for at least debating this possibility. I do have a few points that I would like to bring up in terms of the importance of getting funded for our Model UN conferences. So, as to answer Naila Benet's question, yes, there are going to be commuter students going to the event. Every year we take many people from our Model UN team, and this semester we have less people than expected who are going, but we are taking 11 people, and we do have some of those who are commuter students. And the cost, I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it is in the invoice that I just sent to Shruti, so she might be able to check and let you know. If not, then I can give that to you as soon as possible as well. Yeah, so it looks like it's 225 a night. So a few points for everyone who might not know what Model UN exactly is. We basically go to a couple conferences every semester, and it's kind of like we are delegations of different countries, and we go to conferences with other universities to debate on different topics and come to conclusions, things like that. So these conferences are multi-day events, and they're also during the day. They don't happen just like one time. They happen in like multiple periods and multiple sessions throughout the day. So a lot of times we'll have sessions that occur late at night, or up until 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. And sometimes that makes if we're not living at the hotel or nearby where it's happening, that makes it really difficult for students to be able to commute to and from the venue late at night around like 10, 11 p.m. And it also makes it really difficult during the conference when there's like downtime in between different sessions. It makes it difficult for students to have somewhere to go while all the other students are kind of who are living there are able to go in their respective areas. So something that's important is that Model UN is not only just a club, we're also a course for Poli-Sci 384. And so the students who are going to this conference, the NMUN DC conference, it's our flagship one of the semester, and students who want credit for the class are required to go to this specific conference. So we want to just try and make it as simple as possible for students to be able to access this conference. And be able to get the credit that they need for it. And my last point before I let you all consider everything that I've said is due to COVID safety, we thought it might be best to limit the amount of travel that's happening during this time, in the sense where if there's a lot of students who are traveling, if we're all traveling back and forth from UMBC Maryland to DC and Arlington, Virginia for the duration of the conference, it might like not be the best in terms of exposure to random things COVID related, when we're seeing other students from other universities at the hotel, rather than if during the duration of the conference we all stay in the same location, and there's not much mixing going around with the specific students at the conference and locations outside of the conference. So yeah, that's everything.
Okay, thank you for that insight. Based on that, is there anything that anyone wants to add from Finance Board? Go ahead, Rahman.
So this is a quick question for Iktha. Has your organization considered using your carrier funds for the conference or anything like that, or no?
We have considered it, although I would need to talk to our president, Alex Marsh, more about that. We talked about our funding for the conferences earlier, and there was a specific reason that we had to ask Finance Board for funding for this conference. So more contact to him about that specific thing would probably be appropriate.
Okay, thank you so much.
Anyone else?
I know this conference is in November, right? So
Yes.
so like if and Candace, correct me if I'm wrong, the event, like it's not where they stay that has to be 50 miles, it's the event, or it's where they stay that has to be 50 miles over?
I mean, at this point, it's one and the same. The event is at the hotel is the event.
So would it submit a new request with a further hotel? Could they do that before that time? Would that work or no?
No. At least given the price of these hotels, right? Like they're asking for this, even if you were to consider this right now, like what is that, 1313, that's $2,700. I'm not sure. I don't understand some of this, but the location of the event, where they are going, right, is what should be considered.
Oh, okay. Because I was wondering, like, if they were to just ask for funding for a hotel that's like a little bit, like maybe 10 miles out, but I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Just to add to that real quick, just like my idea, I feel that if that were the case, if they were to get a hotel like further out, so they could say that it's technically how many ever miles away. I feel like that still like kind of goes against the idea of having a hotel, especially what Ikta just like said, especially with like COVID, because like the idea is you're still traveling between the venue and the hotel, and then you still would have the idea of having to travel whatever 10 miles or whatever away. So I feel like that's also something to consider, that we technically, even if they end up finding a hotel that's 10 further away, then it still brings up all the issues of like, why can't you just come back towards like campus? Yeah, and I feel like that's also something that has to be like discussed with Dr. Young. So okay, I think Imani was, oh no, I think I saw Candace's hand next.
No,
Unless
I'm good.
typed it. Okay,
I put it in
perfect.
the chat.
Okay, perfect. And then I saw Imani.
So my only question is, I know you brought up that it's a credit for the students. Is it all the students, or just like a couple of them for like a class?
Oh,
This
it's required for all the students who are taking Model UN or Poli-Sci for credit. Most students are, and this specific conference is the one that they go to get credit.
I don't think that matters.
No, that's what I was saying. Like, it's like I forgot I was going to tie it into something, but basically, like, if it's only really important for those students to go, wouldn't it just be better if they could just drive back and forth so they just still get their credit?
The point is that basically a lot of these, some of these students are commuter students and others might not be, but driving back and forth during a time where conferences can happen anywhere from early in the morning to late at night is very difficult and might not necessarily be the most convenient option for students.
Okay.
Especially it's in the DC area, in Arlington, Virginia specifically, but the DC area is traffic, as you all probably know, is also a very fun time.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Devin, go ahead.
I guess I'm sure this goes without saying or it's been answered before, but I guess in the hypothetical sense, if we do decide, like regardless of the budgetary policy, to say yes, what will be like the future for ECTA or like for the organization to request funding in the future? Like, is it going to impact how they would be able to request funding in the future? Like, if that's something that ECTA wants to consider as well, I think that's a good point to bring up because this is a situation where we will have to make an exception.
So the thing, just from the financial perspective about that, if we do end up picking an exception, like say like next week, a student organization decides that they also want to stay within the 50-mile radius, they want to have a hotel within the 50-mile radius, then we would also technically have to fund that, or it's kind of just like showing favoritism to one organization over the other, which we're not supposed to do. So that's just something to keep in mind because we can like at the end of the day, we are responsible for the students' money. So if we decide that we want to fund something like this, we need to make sure that it's equally funded for every single organization that asks for it. So this also means that like literally whenever from now, like the thing is, personally again, the budgetary statutes act like a rule book, right? So like my thing is if we break it, then that's just something that like us as well as potentially future finance boards would have to deal with. So do we want to make that profound of a decision? That's up to us. But personally, if you can't tell by now, I'm a little against it. So that's just my 2 cents.
As well, like going to that, like I think it's good to be subjective sometimes with things like this because it is a student org and like this is, a course and like people are involved in the situation. However, like we're supposed to be looking at this, I feel like more objectively than subjectively. And if we look at this objectively, like what is on paper, we cannot fund the hotel. And like I know Ikta said she still needs to talk to the president and see like what is left in the reserves or like why they couldn't fund it. But I feel like for now, like it's just not worth
We
it.
have $200 around left, so that's why we can't really fund it with just the stuff we have. I texted him.
Okay. I just feel like it's not like worth like the back and forth of like funding this and then having to tell another org no, not me saying no, sorry. Having to tell another org no and then asking us why and like that's just a whole mess. And I feel like, the budgetary statutes are what they are. It's the rule book. And like while it sucks that this isn't within the rules, like that's what is on paper. And I feel like we should just abide by that, especially since this wasn't funded previously. So it's already been like there's a precedent for this that we should follow. And like it does suck and I'm really sorry because I would like to fund this, but like we cannot because of the statutes. And like that's just our duty as finance board members to follow that rule.
Purely to play devil's advocate, technically we can change precedent, but I also am very, very against it. So that's just my 2 cents. But Rahman, I think you said me and I forgot to call on you.
Okay, so my point was I was considering tabling this because Ikta mentioned that she needed to talk to Alex, the president, about possibly using their carrier money. But considering the fact that they only have $200 in their carrier fund, I don't think that's the best idea. Um, Okay, so come back to me. I'm thinking.
Okay. So based off of the information that we have, yeah, so Candace saying that they need to have it funded by October 1st, which obviously is in like 3 days. And the fact that yeah, I feel like based off of everything that we have, I this is me not as chair, this is me as as a finance board member, but I would urge us to kind of reconsider our thoughts about maybe breaking the budgetary statutes to fund this. Uh, who's first? Oh, come on, go ahead.
Yeah, so actually, so Neil Benet really brought up a good point about, and I'm sure that you too, about it not being funded in the past, but like I just want to know, like, well, the fact that it wasn't funded in the past, that one time, the same exact request was filed in 2019 and it wasn't funded, but the organization itself made it work. Like they made it work. You know, like it's not like the conference was like I'm guessing it was held at the same hotel, you know, but they weren't staying at that hotel, but they ended up, you know, making dues and actually making it work, even if they weren't staying at that hotel. I think that's significant now that I think about it. Thank you for bringing that up.
Imani, go for it.
I was just gonna say, like, I just agree with like what Nayla Bonet and what Candace were saying. Like, it is a like it sucks really that we can't do it, but going along with the guidelines that we have, that we really do have to stick to them because we're stopping another organization from coming in and saying, "Oh, we want to go to this conference," and it's in Arundel, and we want to stay in the hotel by the conference. Like, we have to sadly, we do have to think about all the other organizations and the money that we do have to separate fairly amongst everybody. So
That's
I feel
totally
like
fair. I totally understand that. I just wanted to bring up one real quick point that,
Ekta,
like,
hi,
yeah,
Ekta, you need to be recognized by the chair.
yeah, I just think like we just have to make the hard decisions. That's why we chose to be on the board. I feel like we do just need to just go by the budgetary guidelines just because another organization can come that room and actually need the money to go to somewhere like North Carolina or Florida. And if we make an exception now, it's gonna like shorten it out for the people who actually need it and go by the guidelines. And there's another thing that was it Shruti? No, was Kansas also brought up? They need it by October 1st. Yeah, that's so not in the range of at all of what we can approve.
I think wait, why is the chat not working? I think Devin is next. Yes.
I just had a quick question. If we do need to like change our decision, should we do anything on SurveyMonkey or just say like how we feel right now? Just like for like a paper trail or something.
In terms of like legislation, we only have to fund how much ever we want to fund. So like pulling up the legislation real quick, I still have the actual amount blank, so you can just put in whatever amount that we decide to fund, and that acts as a paper trail for how much we fund.
Perfect.
Okay, where'd it go? Okay. Okay. Since there are no more me's in the chat, Ekta, do you have anything to add?
I think she typed it.
Yeah, I just thought, yeah. Do we have any reactions to that? So, if we do, again, me in the chat.
Just say like in terms of that, I understand like what like they're saying with like traffic and everything, but our statutes isn't to assess the area itself and like how heavy with it is with traffic or like how dangerous or whatever it is. but to assess how far or how close it is. So like valid concern, yes, but at the same time, it is within the same like realm as Anne Arundel because it's under 50 miles. So like that's why we're putting it in the same bubble because it still can't be funded.
Yeah, I personally agree. I kind of just want to take an informal vote of what finance board is thinking right now. So, I would just say like as is without actually voting. If we think that we would approve everything or the amount, I think it's 20, what is it? 2940. If we want to approve 2940 as it exists, say yes in the chat, and if not, say no. So if we would approve 2940, say yes. If not, then no. So we can have, if you know, we can have a better idea of where the conversation's going. Before I call on you, Imani, I just want to, if everyone just like real quick, just say yes or no. So no if you don't want 2940 to be allocated. Right, the 2940 includes the lodging cost. So if we're feeling no, then we can continue on this conversation. But also like one other quick poll before I'll call on you, Imani, again. Is the 20 sorry. I believe the amount was, what was it? 1140, 1040, 1045. Whatever amount it is minus the lodging. So that just includes each of the participant fees, the 11 participant fees, as well as $195 for registration. If we want to fund that amount, I think it's 1040. So if you believe that that's all that should be funded, then just say yes in the chat. And if you think there should be some sort of middle ground, then say no. I'm sorry these questions are like confusing, but like it would really help to get. Okay. So I was just saying that if you believe that only the registration and the participant funding or fees should be funded, then say yes in the chat. Okay, perfect. This is not like an official vote, by the way. Okay, so just generally looking at the votes, I believe that we are pretty much all in alignment. If anyone wants to add anything in terms of what we think on top of our general consensus right now, please say me in the chat. If not, I would honestly urge us to move into a period of voting because I feel like we're pretty much in consensus that we want to only fund the 1,045. Sorry, 45? 40? I'll look back, but. Or Candace, if you could send that number again, please.
Which number?
The number for the amount that we would fund if it's only registration fees as well as the.
Let's look at the screenshot that they sent.
Okay. So it'd be 11 times 95 plus 195. So that would be 24 or 1240, sorry. Will be the number.
Wait, so it's 12, it's 1045 and 195? Yeah, 1240.
Sorry. So that would be the number. So that's the number that I guess I would propose if anyone has anything else to propose before we move into like voting on something. So it's 1240. I'm just gonna write it out real quick so everyone can see it. But it's 1240, which is 11 times 95 plus. It's gonna look like a math equation. But that's where I'm getting 1240 right now. Imani, go ahead.
Do we have to take into consideration would it even go if we only fund the registration fee, or is that not something that we have to worry about?
Do you mean like? Sorry, go ahead.
Do we have to worry about if we fund the registration fee? Do we have to take in consideration that they will even go? Like, if we only fund the registration fee, or is that not like we won't? Okay, we won't worry about that. Okay.
Like generally that's not our burden. Like our burden is to fund what is fundable.
Oh, okay. I was making sure.
I mean, like it sounds really mean, but that's kind of what we do.
Okay.
Sure, if Alex has anything to add, you can speak now.
Hi, I'm sorry for entering late. I'm the Model UN Club president. I know I missed a lot of this due to class. I just wanted to add in one last thing is that I appreciate you guys considering the request, and off a quick head count, if the registration fee solely is funded, we're going to have to charge members roughly $180 a piece to attend this conference, which personally I think might result in a significant portion of our team dropping. So that's a little higher than they can afford. So I don't know if that factors into the decision at all. I'm not intimately familiar with these meetings, but I just wanted to make sure that was out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Personally, I recognize that that is a huge amount on a student's burden, but also as a finance board, that's just not within what we do. We solely fund stuff that's based off of our budgetary statutes, only to have some like guiding document or have some rules that we follow. And since our rules stipulate that we can only fund like conferences or events that are within the 50-mile radius, unfortunately we can't fund the lodging for it. Sorry, that didn't make sense, but unfortunately we can't fund the lodging for that. If you are able to, would you be able to answer Candace's question from the chat?
Sorry, can you guys hear me? Yes, I can. So people can still be a part of the club without going to this. It is not a requirement to attend the conference. You're correct, it's not my responsibility to make sure someone can receive a credit for a class, but we are unable to offer that class or this conference without funding, and that is a significant portion of our draw.
May I be recognized by the chair? Yes. I'm sorry if I worded that incorrectly or poorly. That second part was more for the board. So it's not necessarily their responsibility to ensure someone is able to receive credit for a class. Their responsibility is to be effective stewards of the student dollar and provide as much opportunity as possible. So my apologies if I was.
Thank you for that clarification, Candace. Didn't read that full thing, but Rahman, go ahead.
Okay, so two things. Okay, so firstly, the class does have a factor in this because so I'm in moot court and we have a similar syllabus, and if we don't attend the like the semesterly competition, then we automatically fail the class, and it's past past the pass fail deadline or like enrollment deadline, so they can't unenroll right now from the class. So if they don't, I don't know if it's the same for Model UN. I need you to clarify on this, Alex or Ekta. But if they don't attend the conference itself, then most likely they fail the class. That does have a factor in this. But I know that's like not a huge part of our consideration. But Candace, I need you to kind of clarify. I know you've said this before, but can you clarify why exactly we have the 50 miles restriction in the first place, just to make sure everyone's on the same page and everyone's well aware of that guideline?
Yeah, sure. When your budgetary statutes were created, that was what was considered to be a reasonable driving distance that someone would be able to drive 50 miles there and back within a day for something. As Shruti mentioned, if at any point you wanted to amend your budgetary statutes, there's a process for that, but your budgetary statutes have to be amended and approved by both arms of the legislative branch. So both Senate and Finance Board have to sign off on that. But currently, the rules that you are bound to is 50 miles.
Go ahead, Alex.
Okay, if I can just clarify two things. So we have not enrolled people for the class as of this moment. We wanted to wait until we knew who could go for sure, partially to try and avoid a situation like this. We didn't want to put people in that position, although I do appreciate the concern. Thank you. As far as the 50-mile limit, we can't necessarily drive to all of our conferences because many of them put a limit on how far you can be before you have to stay in a hotel. I believe for this conference it is 30 miles, and I understand that that limit doesn't supersede finance boards, but we can't drive to this conference, I'm pretty sure. The organizers have just put that rule in place because so many of the sessions take place early in the morning or late at night that they need people to be within very close distance. And some of the committees our delegates are in have midnight to 4 a.m. sessions as part of a crisis committee.
So as a person who's been part of MUN before, I completely understand that, and I understand how that's a part of the conference, but, is it okay if I, like is there some sort of documentation that has this 30-mile, rule outlined that we could also, Finance Board could reference?
I believe there is, and I will double check right now while others are speaking to see if I can find that and screen share it if that would be helpful.
Okay, that is possible. Thank you. Neil Vinay, go for it.
I was going to say that I feel like even if, like with Candace, yeah, even if that documentation is provided, I think we're kind of getting a little bit too far outside our realm here with dealing with, supplemental things that are not what we're outlined to do here. Like we are essentially getting paid to follow the budgetary statutes and to represent the student dollar. And I feel like we're kind of dragging the conversation on and going into like different realms that we have no control over, sadly. So I would like to move to go into a period of voting for this Sahas request.
To clarify, the only reason I asked for that is because we can't fund the conference itself unless they can go to it. Like we can't like allocate like the whatever amount, like the 1240, if they can't even go to it. So that's just my concern. I don't know if that is a valid concern or Candace, if you have anything to add on that.
I mean, I think your responsibility is to review and fund what you are able to fund, and then
Okay.
their responsibility is to determine whether or not with that funding they are able to do the said thing. There have
Okay.
been times when Finance Board has funded things to levels that the organization would have preferred to be different, and then they decided, well, we're just not going to do it. So my hope is that with this, just as been the case in previous years, that this is not a new situation for Model U for this particular company. It's shared with in terms of 2019 funding. It was only for the registration, not for the hotel.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, personally, at least, I feel like that clarified a lot for me. But at that, I mean, with that information, I don't see why we shouldn't move into a period of voting. But Imani, do you have anything else to add?
No, pretty much Neil Bonet said all of it. To be honest, I think we are kind of dragging out this discussion a little bit because we're getting into like really the nitty gritty of a lot that is really outside our jurisdiction. So I think we should just move into a period of voting.
Okay, so that's my next question. Is there any seconds on the floor to move into a period of voting?
A second.
Objections? Hearing seeing no objections, we can move into a period of voting. Neil Benet, you might want to clarify this because you raised the motion, but so I'm guessing that we are voting on approving Okay, it's right here, sorry. There, okay. So what amount? I believe we were talking about 1240 being the amount for the 11 students and the $195 registration fee. So is that the amount that we are voting on?
I think Alex made a request to speak.
Okay, so Candace, I may need some help here, but as we are in the period of voting, it
Yeah.
can have any interruptions?
That's up to you. But
Okay.
you are now in a period of voting.
Okay. Personally, I think we should just to hear everything. Although like Neil Benet said, I don't know if we need it per se, but I still want to recognize everyone before we move into a point where no one can make any changes. So, yeah, Alex, go for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the confusion with procedure. I cannot locate that document right now, but I can confidently say that because of the practical limitations of having to drive somebody to DC at midnight for a crisis committee, the effect is the same, that if we can't stay at the hotel, we would not attend the conference.
So we can continue through we could fund it, but technically at this point it's up to Model UN if they would be able to use that money. So we could go through voting procedure and fund it, or we could. Candace, do you have anything to add? Okay, we are in voting. We need to vote. That is true. Okay, so we are voting, correct me if I'm wrong, Neil Benet, but we were voting that on whether we should approve the Sahas request for 1240, which includes the 11 students, $95 registration or $95 per delegate fee and the $195 registration fee. Am I right? Okay, perfect. 1240. So going off of what we have right now, if we are for are approving the Sahas request for $1240 as it stands, contingent on the approval of the risk assessment by VPSA, then say aye in the chat. If not, then nay, and I can tally it up. Is that all 8 people? 1, 2, 8. Yep, that is all 8 people. Go for it, Candace.
So are you all voting to not fund this at all? Because that's what you just did.
That's my understanding.
Oh, I meant to vote like for the half of the amount that the whole group decided to go with, but I don't know why the nay got there.
Okay, wait, let me re-clarify what
Yeah.
this is about.
I just,
So,
okay.
oh my God, okay. This is for us to fund $1,240. The $1,240 comprises of a $95 per delegate fee, as well as a $195 total registration fee. So that added up together, this does not include the cost of lodging at all. For what it is right now, this is what we're voting for. Based on this, if we think that only $1240 should be allocated, then say yes or aye. But if we do not think that the legislation should be passed as it stands for $1240, then that's a nay. I mean, okay. So Yeah, so basically with an A, no money gets put towards. Okay. Wait, let me just start when. Okay, starting now, can we just say nay or I in the chat? So just a revote, just so I can have a better idea of what everyone's saying. And Candace, correct me if I'm wrong, but it needs to be a 50% vote for it to pass. 1, 2, 3. I think we're still missing a few people. Okay, so Aya, if we want to fund only $1,240, this does not include the lodging fee at all. This only includes the registration fee, then that's a I. If we do not want to fund anything at all, then that's an A. I mean, those are the only two options that exist right now.
Is it a tie, Shruti?
I think it is. Why is it on me? Oh no.
Just check your votes again.
Okay. Wait, Amina, can you help? I don't.
Wait, I don't think it's a tie because Mahira voted twice in here, and so I don't know if you counted hers twice because I counted 4 no's and then 3 yeses.
I think you gotta. I would just here. Hold on. Just go like this. Everybody, no, you're in voting right now. I think everybody should just vote again underneath these X's.
Wait,
So you get a
Candace.
clean vote.
One quick thing. I started the second time I started voting is at 6:51. So I waited until it turned 6:51. So everything after 6:51 is an actual vote.
Oh,
And I made
yeah.
sure of that.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know. You gotta read that vote. I don't know
So
what it says.
every message that was sent after the timestamp of 6:51 should be what we count right now. So
Or at 6:51.
at 6:51. So like the second that it struck 6:51, I said you can vote now, and that's when everyone started voting. Unfortunately, Alex, we are in voting procedure right now, and I don't think it is appropriate for you to add at this moment. But okay, wait. Let me just count real quick, and based on that, I can further resolve my comment. 1, 2, 3. I think Aya, we're still waiting for your vote. Am I wrong? You said nay? Okay. So that leaves us with sorry. 1, 2, 3. And then it should be so 3 eyes is what I see. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 3 eyes. So 3, 4, 5 opposed, and then I'm obviously abstaining. Are we okay with this? Is this our vote? Like if we are confused, if we need to reiterate anything, I can do that. But based on what we just talked about, this is our vote. Am I correct in that assumption? Okay. If that is the case, then that is the vote that we have. Okay. Oh, shoot. Okay. That is it for. Oh, oops, this is the wrong. Oh, no. Okay, well, just I want to amend the legislation. I accidentally put BMS instead of MUN. Real quick.
You have to have new legislation.
Should just make a copy
You
of it.
can't amend this, yeah, because they're even voted on. So you have to re-vote on the legislation.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Would I have to make the legislation number higher? Like, would I have to make it an 09 or?
Yes, it'd have to be a different number.
That is
because,
very
yeah.
Okay.
People couldn't change their votes, right, in this new voting? They have to say what they said the first time, or no?
It's
No.
completely new one.
Completely new legislation.
Okay, actually at this point, Alex, I think you can because we haven't entered voting procedure again. So at this point, to your favor, you can clarify.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to address something I said. I apologize if it came across as me saying I don't want the money if we can't pay for the hotel. I was attempting to make the point that commuting isn't necessarily an option, but should the finance board vote again to fund the 1240 allocation, I can still reach out to all of our members and see if they'd be willing to pay whatever the cost of the conference is, of course, contingent on Dr. Brown's approval. I did not mean to say all or nothing. I don't want your money. I apologize if that's how it came across.
Okay, so sorry. Going off of that, do we want to enter a period of discussion again and then move through the process only to amend the document before the legislation before we go into voting?
I move to enter a period of voting.
Okay, but we need to amend the legislation first.
To amend FBL 09-2020-2122 from BMS to MUN,
As well as the legislation number, but
as well as the legislation number.
okay, thank you. Are there any objections? Hearing no objections, I will sorry, amend everything.
So we need a second for that?
Yeah, I heard a second, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Before we go, okay, wait. Before we go through anything else, is there any mistakes we see so we don't go through this process again? There are none. We get to vote on it again. So, based off of everything that has been said, are there any motions to move into a period of voting?
I move to enter a period of voting.
I second.
Hiya. Are there any objections? Hearing no objections, we can move into a period of voting. Again, this is on the 1240 amount that we have come up with. This is again only the tally of all the individual delegate registration fees as well as the delegation registration fee. This does not include lodging of any sort, nor the funding for the advisor or the faculty member that is going along with them. So with all that noted, if we think that this should be funded as it exists, then an aye in the chat, and if not, a nay in the chat. I think we're still waiting on one more person. Nate, nope, I think we're good. Okay. So that significantly changed. Okay. So thank you for making it through this process. That was a little painful and long for sure, but good luck for I believe Alex and Ekta who are on the call right now with the funding, and you will be receiving an email from me in the next few days about the funding. But okay, so can I just include this in the email that I send Candace, or would I have to separately notify David earlier?
Same email is fine. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and I could also
But I would try to do it sooner rather than later because I don't know if they're trying to have David do the payment. But I know they're working on a tight timeline for registration stuff. So
okay, perfect. I'll try to get this out by tonight then. That's my goal. Okay. Thank you all of the representatives of MUN. Moving on to our next agenda item. So, The last thing on our new business agenda is this GBM that SGA is generally planning. Okay, so just for more context, Senate and Finance Board as like the legislative body are working on having a GBM, like a general body meeting sort of an idea, just to make SGA more accessible to the people. And this is just something that has been happening beforehand. So like before Marshad's presidency last year, I believe the president before Vrinda, she was hosting GBMs like as part of her what she was doing as president. So we are kind of like resurrecting that idea again so we can make SGA more like involved almost in the students' life and the students more involved in SGA also. So based off of that, we have 3 events for the rest of fall semester that we're planning. The idea of this is going to be like a monthly event. So the first one is on October, the second one obviously in November, and the third one in December. I unfortunately, Juan, could you pull up the email that I sent and give the date? I completely forgot what the date was. But it would be hosted whatever the date that it is. And the idea would be that Finance Board runs the first one. The first one is virtual, the second one is in person, and the third one is virtual. So the one that's coming up in October is going to be completely virtual, and the Finance Board is going to be basically running the entire thing in terms of planning and organizing and executing. So this is around the date of Halloween. So if I can actually find the date, if you're able to give me that eventually. We want to plan this. So basically what I'm trying to say with this big spiel is that we need some sort of planning committee in Finance Board to get this going. Obviously I will be a part of it, and if Rahman is interested, he can be part of it, and Aya and Nila Benet, if y'all are interested, you can also be a part of it. But we kind of just want to reach out to the rest of Finance Board and see which who all are interested in this. Since it is a virtual event and since it is a meet and greet event, it's not too taxing in terms of planning for it, but we still need to have some sort of plan outlined. And this includes like reaching out and like having the communication department like advertise it and everything. So there is quite a bit of planning that's required, but it's not supposed to be like the most like crazy out there thing. Okay, and then Rahman said it's October 29th from 5 to 6 p.m. So based off of that, is there anyone that wants to volunteer themselves for this? I would very much appreciate if you do, for the sake of me and Rahman and the rest of us who have to plan this. So I would, since it is sponsored by the entirety of Finance Board, it would be great. Thank you, Fiona. Honestly, if everyone's up to it, I could also include everyone in the emails, and it could just be like whoever's free at that exact time can join at the meeting and like try to make it to the meetings. But if that's okay with everyone, that's also something that I can work on. Okay, so seeing the general consent in the chat with that idea, that is something I'll move forward on. Probably end up sending an email about that in the next like 24 hours or so. So we can have like a separate meeting to plan this so we don't have to crowd our already long Tuesday evening. So at that, with that, I believe that is the end of our new business segment. Are there any motions to move into a period of announcements?
Motion to move into I move to move into period announcements.
Second.
Any objections? Here, seeing no objections, we can move into a period of announcements. If you have an announcement, please just say me in the chat. If we have nothing, we can move into adjournment. Oh, go ahead, Candace.
My announcement is to remember that homecoming is coming up, and it starts this weekend. There's a bonfire on Saturday. There's a movie. The following weekend there's a big carnival. There also will be a student leader reception, like an alumni student leader reception, ice cream reception on Saturday, October 9th from 5 to 6 p.m. And I would encourage you to come and get free ice cream, number one, but then to also, like, as student leaders, interact and mingle with alumni student leaders. There will probably be some SGA student leaders there. So it would be, I think, the alums always love talking with current students and sort of talking about like what your experience is versus their experience and where there's sort of overlap in that experience. And that's part of the reason why they come back, right? So if you are available, and I will remind you next week too, to come to the ice cream social on Saturday, October 9th from 5 to 6 p.m. underneath the big tent.
Okay, perfect. If there are no other announcements, okay, go ahead, Imani.
It's not an announcement, it's more of a question. I thought the homecoming, so is the homecoming carnival the same day, or do I have my days mixed up?
So there is a homecoming carnival on October 9th. Yes, there'll be a lot of stuff going on October 9th. On that Saturday, there's a puppy parade that I'm coordinating. There's a carnival. If you have your family has a dog, you can bring them to the puppy parade. I ordered giant trophies for it. It's great. There's a giant carnival. Wristbands are $5 all you can ride. And there's a bunch of like sort of receptions for people. Like there's a family breakfast and there's the student leader reception at 5 o'clock. I am excited. I love a parking lot carnival. I know it's not in a parking lot, it's on Erickson, but they everyone have a bunch of rides. 11 rides. 7 for grown-ups.
7 for grown-ups. I look forward
If you
to it.
have 4 for babies. If you want to ride the baby airplane, that's fine. That's on you. But like, I will only take your picture and post it once on the internet. So yeah, come on. And if there are, I think it's going to be there other days too. So I'll let you know, but definitely so.
Okay, perfect. I'm so hyped now. I'm so excited. Okay. Are there any motions to move into a period of adjournment?
Or
Sorry, I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi, but I heard nothing.
I move to adjourn.
Okay. Yeah. Any seconds? Are there any seconds? Seconds? I don't know. My Wi-Fi is being stupid, but just anyone second, please. Oh, okay, perfect. Are there any objections? Hearing seeing no objections, you can move into a period of adjournment. I recognize that. Oh my God. That Amina, Aya, Devin, Fiona, Imani, Mahira, Naila, Benet, Usman, and Rahman. Also, our ex officio member Candace. Also, one of our FYAs showed up. I completely forgot to acknowledge her, but one of our FYAs showed up at one point.
Maria.
Yeah, Amaria showed up. I recognize her in spirit. But thanks, guys. Don't go yet unless you can't stay. But or unless what am I trying to say? If you guys can stay, then stay because we have to still do pass the gavel. But at this point, I'm gonna stop sharing and stop